Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard here this evening. As well as it is said, I gotta actually read my own post because this is where the Oilers season has come to an end, and I gotta do a little personal self-reflection now, and of course, discuss a little bit about the Edmonton Oilers. I quickly want to say thank you to everybody that's had a chance to read the post so far. And I'll wrap it up this way. I knew I put it a good way here in the post earlier today, that this year was truly a wasted year. I'm not going to mix anything about that. Not from an Oilers perspective, though. It very well might be easy to say about the Oilers, but I mean this was a wasted year for me here personally on the channel. Honestly, given everything that happened, kind of post Cup run last year, July, August, September, moving into the season and trying to get ready for another year. I think I've always talked about how the Oilers sucked me out of it in game 1 through 3 of the season last year, where I just, go to the home opener and you get dummied. You lose to Chicago, you lose to Calgary right out of the gate. It seems like this team's nowhere to be found post changes in the offseason, and it's just disheartening. I think some self-reflection today as things got quiet at work at the end of the day. Really, I was sucked out of it before it even began. I had a busy summer. Personally, some stuff going on in terms of some scares and some hard decisions to be made in the direction I wanted my life to go and who I wanted it to be in and out of my life. And obviously, who was coming in, who was going out, all that was a lot to handle and a lot to figure out. We did that, and ultimately it does take its toll. So what the Oilers did, kind of almost irrelevant based on just the work and stuff I had to do personally to just get through what was a crazy 2024-2025. So with that, I just wanted to touch on that quickly. If you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. Bigger and better things hopefully coming here in 25-26, not only for myself personally, but for the Edmonton Oilers after falling to the Florida Panthers in 6 games and ultimately losing the Stanley Cup. In a game they deemed they would show their best, they show absolutely nothing but defeat against the Panthers in that game 6. Sam Reinhart, the definition of a clutch player for the Panthers in 2 straight cup runs, and for the Edmonton Oilers, pure embarrassment on the front of the big guns and the depth and everybody in the organization, falling short against the Florida Panthers, seemingly thinking they had won the cup after beating Dallas in 5 games. And it's Florida, we know what to expect, we'll handle it. And man, did they get handled. Not the Panthers, the Edmonton Oilers. So with that, I want to touch on a quick few takeaways from myself personally this year, as I touched on the hectic situations in August and September. Really took a toll on coverage here on the channel. I do want to, from the bottom of my heart, apologize for what was a scatterbrained, incoherent season for me personally here on the channel. Again, I know you guys subscribed solely for what I bring to the table, the passion, the excitement, the coverage. None of that was here this year. Multiple weeks without any update, no update after the day after game 3 in the Cup final. I understand that. I'm not saying that I don't deserve time away. That said, I also know that there is an expectation when you hit that subscribe button, and I failed to meet that. That is due to the November light bulb. Basically, a sensitive time of year there in mid-November. The Oilers played the Montreal Canadiens. They lost 3-0 in a game similar to games 5 and 6 against Florida. You expected them to show up. They didn't show up worth a damn. And kind of with the sensitive time of year there, just kind of it hit me all at once and made me realize, look, I got to reprioritize things. That led to obviously no coverage at the Four Nations, just really a year where I invested heavily in just watching it and enjoying the Four Nations for what it was. Obviously, the right call. And work and summer this year have just been priority number 1. They will likely continue to be priority number 1 as we go through the rest of the summer. A trip up to Cold Lake, very much so what I need here at this point, now only 4 days away from getting up there. So season takeaways, if you're asking me about the Edmonton Oilers and what I'd say my season takeaways are, it really comes down to 2 things that I've boiled down here in the prep for this video. don't downplay the preseason. Like I said, the Oilers sucked me out of it with the start to the year. But what I have to realize is I was a little predisposed to being sucked out of it due to how the preseason went. It was very painful. It was excruciating watching the Oilers, A, not put Emerson and Nurse together, B, just refuse to at all take the preseason seriously. That ultimately leads to point number 2, which is coming from behind, works 100% of the time, 60% of the time. You watched it. That was kind of the MO in the playoffs, and it did. It worked 100% of the time, 60% of the time, as it did the rest of the season. Again, maybe that Montreal Canadiens game as well back in November 18. But it's just tough to watch the Oilers continually play from behind, continually play with a deficit in hand, and just try to overcome a problem they've set up for themselves. So as we kind of get towards the conclusion of this video, the draft number 1 of the video was a lot longer than this. I will spare you the details, and we'll just keep rolling here in draft number 2. But the Oilers' priorities in the 25-26 season, I'm not shocking you with saying any of this. I think everybody's on the same page. Get youth and skill in the lineup. The Oilers desperately lacked, I wouldn't even say fast legs. They had some good legs in the lineup as the season got on, but you just need some guys that you're going to grow with. Again, Adam Henrique was here to win a Stanley Cup this year. Victor Arvidsson was here to win a Stanley Cup this year. Jeff Skinner was here to win a Stanley Cup this year. Matthias Janmark signed up because he's a part of how you won the Stanley Cup this year. Connor Brown, same thing. I understood the priorities, what the Oilers were trying to do. The problem is you didn't do that this year. You failed. You had a promise. You didn't deliver. Now you got to understand what comes next. And for Stan Bowman, Jeff Jackson, and the Edmonton Oilers, what comes next is getting youth and skill in the lineup. We obviously have a guy like Matt Savoy waiting in the system. There's some other guys that can work in. Again, you're not going to see Derek Ryan sitting here playing 20 games this year. You're going to see a guy like James Hamlin get a chance to crack the lineup again. You're going to see a lot of different looks from the Edmonton Oilers. You're going to see a whole bunch of guys that we've signed so far throughout the playoffs from Europe that are going to come in and, have 20 games apiece in the NHL lineup. We're kind of going to get back to that building up to where we were back in 21 against the Winnipeg Jets in the first round. Kind of how we got there after we were in the playoffs in 2017. Some different guys, some guys you've never heard of getting in the lineup. This said, the Oilers have hopefully scouted better and will do a better job with those guys in the lineup. And just the youth and the experience now of McDavid and Draisaitl will drive this team back into a contending playoff spot next year. Ultimately, you do have to tackle goaltending. I talked about it in the playoffs. Everybody ripped me apart for talking about trading Stu mid-playoff run. I will tell you, that was never the intention to trade him during. You physically can't during the playoffs. I'm talking about July 1st. I'm talking about right now. The Oilers are not going to mince words with their players. They are going to be very direct, and they are going to be very direct in dealing with the issues they deem are at hand. And I don't think anybody in the Oilers organization is looking at themselves here tonight and saying goaltending is not an issue. And that ultimately leads point 1 and 2 to point number 3, which says make the tough decisions. The Oilers claimed to have made the tough decisions last year. I will tell you, the tough decisions they made last year did not pay off. And this year, now you got to make the tough decisions to get out from underneath your tough decisions from last year. I love what Ty Emerson brings. I think he'll play the Troy Stetcher role next year. And ultimately for the Oilers, you've got some worries on the back end to take care of as well. An aging, now injured Matthias Ekholm, how does that shake things up, especially with a new lofty number coming in for Evan Bouchard here this summer? So friends, thanks for being aboard. Wanted to explain myself a little bit, wanted to explain some feelings. Again, it is what it is, and we move forward and hopefully better and bigger and more lovable of an Oilers team. I hated this Oilers team this year. That is the carrot at the end of the stick for you tonight. Quite simply, I did not at all, start to finish, enjoy this Oilers team. I quite honestly, this team annoyed me. I did not enjoy them. They were not serious. They were kind of a joke, honestly, to me most of this year. And I'm hoping the Oilers take it a bit more serious next year and show up and decide that, hey, you know what? We are the best team in the NHL, and we're going to prove it rather than think we are. So I am up on out of here. Have yourself a great night. Thanks for being aboard all season long. 2025, 2026 up next here on the channel.